last year, 2014, I had the opportunity to attend the International Initiative for Disability Leadership and the International Initiative for Mental Health Leadership Exchange over in Manchester, and that was a great trip.
I had a really interesting time in Manchester, and the first thing where I was on my exchange. Now the big learning for me is that we've got to do things differently. I mean, for me, I've started thinking about that kind of economic benefits of supporting disabled people and how we can do it differently. We know that the current way doesn't work, and I'm doing some thinking that the current system of supporting disabled people is unsustainable, so we have to try something different. In my mind, that difference is less reliant on the formal systems and more reliant on, if you like, reciprocal relationships, because the current way that we do stuff creates a dependency for everybody.
I was also asked to present at the IIDL conference in Manchester on the theme of the role of families in promoting social change. And how I went about doing that was capturing the voice of other families who have, who've gone about supporting their family members to live well. And I have that on a 15-minute DVD and the conference speech presentation that I'd like to share with Te Po and other people. The scholarship and funding from Te Po enabled me to go to the LEAP Exchange in Dublin, where the focus and theme of our 2 days was friendships, roles and relationships, and how we supported people to become known in their communities by their name. There were a number of people presenting on the first day, including Russell Cormack from ABCD Europe, and a particularly wonderful father-son team, Fionn and his father, who used film as a way of sharing knowledge and experiences with people. One of the films that Fionn and his father produced in Ireland really tickled my fancy, and I thought it's something that we could do in New Zealand. They went around their local community filming ordinary people, shop owners, people who ran businesses and services, and asked them to give a little short talk on what their job was and what their job was about, and then produced it in such a way so that young people who were in transition or who were looking about what they could do with their adult life were able to taste test via film. They were able to look at all the kinds of different work in their community and think, would I want to be the butcher? Would I want to work in a bookshop? Would I like to work in this engineering firm? And I thought, what a particularly powerful way in which people, young people, could look at what might be possible for themselves.
For us it was also affirming, because we've always tried to work with people on a one-by-one basis. Now sometimes that's constrained by the structures that are around that, but it was nice to be able to see that the achievements that individuals have made here, which we see as really ordinary, like living ordinary lives, like getting married, having children, getting divorced, working if people are able and choose to, which we have become quite I think, blasé sometimes about, because it's so ordinary for some of the people we support, that is still seen in Ireland as something to be striving for.
That the convention actually commits the government to working alongside, collaboratively with disabled people, to look at how they can redefine the way services are provided. So like enabling good lives as a model of, again, of changing the way services and supports are delivered. It engages the disabled people to be part of that process. I never got that sense over there that was the kind of collaborative approach that was utilised in places like England. So that was one of the things that made me appreciate that more.
One of the things that I learnt from both Cheshire and Sunbeam was that they've been working with advisors to be able to support people to move from the group home, and that it's taken a long time, and so that no matter how much goodwill people have to want to make change, that systems and structures and funding arrangements and environmental challenges that, for example, Ireland have been going through have really affected how fast people can make those changes, and that often we're asked to provide outcomes for people in a really short time frame, whereas the success story that they shared with us when a young man came in, it had been a long time in the planning for him. It was a success story, but it was about patience as well, and that life doesn't happen really, really quickly for any of us, and that patience is really, really important as we try and develop that.
So, one of my biggest learnings was to work at Vanguard, the research that Vanguard did in the UK to show that if you keep giving disabled people what they don't want or need, they'll keep coming back for stuff that they do want and need. And that's a lesson that we haven't learned yet.
In attending this very unique international experience, it enables us to bring home and to play our small role in supporting people and their families in New Zealand to advance their own life experiences in their communities. And I want to thank Te Pou for that opportunity.
One of the great advantages that comes from the IIDL exchange is the relationships that I've developed. Last year in the New Zealand exchange, I met a number of people, and I'm still in contact with a few of them, one particularly from the UK who just emailed me this week to be able to catch up again in February when she's here. When I got back from Ireland, there was an email already waiting for me around sharing some resources around service agreements that we use for people that are easy to read and respectful, and it's a requirement for them to learn to develop a tool. So that sharing of tools and resources, it doesn't necessarily matter where we're working, we all want the same outcome, so sharing those resources and keeping those relationships going is really important.
Participating in the IIDL as both a researcher and a mother was really, really special experience. As a researcher, I carefully chose my host as In Control, an organization I had been following for years for their research approach, and we got to learn from the team itself how they developed their tools for evaluating the personal outcome of individual budgets, such as individualized funding that we have in New Zealand. That was an incredible experience, and it resulted in us being invited to be their first international collaborator to implement and roll out their tool that they have developed for evaluating outcomes, and that is a huge success of the IIDL to bring together this different people from different expertise in different countries.
One of the outcomes for me was just around the arts and music. So I composed a song, I recorded it, and I just wanted to get a sense of how that could be how people would react to that if I played it to them, especially people from overseas. So I had the song in my iPhone, and then when I did my presentation, I did a workshop about basically about whānau ora and about Pacific people with disabilities and the kind of issues that impact on us. So for us as Pacific people, the arts are really important. Music is really important. So I told them that I'd written a song and I recorded it, and I was applying for funding to do the video. When I played the song, because the song is called Siva, which is the Samoan word for dance, but it's not a Pacific Island song, it's just a song using the word Siva, and it's all about dance. And dance, how important dance and music are for especially people with disabilities. Well, I got such a warm reception to the song that I was really quite heartened by it, and one of the groups that was there, a Canadian group, actually made a contribution towards the cost for the, because I self-funded the audio recording. So as a result, there was some people there from Ministry of Health who also attended the conference, and they did say to me that if I needed support for funding to come and see them, and I did, and they fronted up. So thanks to the Ministry of Health and also to the Ministry of Social Development and also to ACC who've come on and contributed as well.
One of the unexpected outcomes of going to the conference and the exchange was because we travelled so far from New Zealand, Neil and I took an opportunity to also take a holiday. And what that really meant was that we left our daughter Katie behind in New Zealand for the longest time in her lifetime and in our parenting, and her younger brother Edward was left in charge of Katie and the people who support her. And it was an experience that showed us that life for Kate could continue past the time when Neil and I are no longer around to take that lead role. And so we passed our, in a temporary kind of way to begin with, we passed our responsibilities on to another group of people. And that was an extremely powerful experience that I can now share with other families, that it is possible to change the way in which your role as a parent changes and how you might build a sustainable future. It was an unexpected learning and an amazing experience.
As a parent, participating in the IIDL was equally exciting because we were introduced to a parent-led initiative near Manchester, where parents took upon themselves to hire superior staff for their children to develop not just the personal care and the day-to-day stuff, but also visions and aspirations and careers and all the exciting stuff that you want for your child. We are now starting our first sessions and in this new initiative in Christchurch, actually on April 11. So huge thanks to Po and to the Ministry of Health for this scholarship that allowed me to bring back the knowledge to New Zealand, but also for Po's support to carry on this initiative here and extend the learning from the IIDL.
So one thing that I brought back from the UK was the knowledge so that I can influence where I can so that we can think about doing things a bit differently. And my particular passion now is to do all the economic stuff that goes with disabled people being a part of communities.
Finally, I just want to thank Te Po for providing the funding for allowing me to attend the Leadership Exchange, the international one. And I'd like to thank Te Po because, not just for myself, but for the fact that Pacific Island disabled people don't often get the opportunity to attend such conferences or leadership exchanges. And I think for us it also, the lack of visibility and participation from Pacific people was reflected in that conference. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank Te Po immensely for giving me that funding and scholarship. Cheers.